Hello, friends. Welcome to the Career Guru Podcast. I am your host, Steve Yanovsky. What a glorious day it is to start your path on a new career. Doors are opening here at the Boston Career Institute even as we speak. And I'm here holding the key for you. So tune in, stay sharp, and enjoy yourself. This is going to be great. Hashtag Let's Career Up.
Well, hello, my dear friends, conversationalists, thrill seekers, aspiring career gurus all across the fruited plain. It is I, your career guru, Steve Yanovsky, holding a key for you here at BCI, a newly accredited career trade and technical school here in Massachusetts. Well, I got a lot of great feedback from our last episode, but I got some interesting inquiries. Hey, Steve, guru, rather. We talk about all these wonderful positive things. Could we dip our toe into some negativity and talk about the things that get people fired? Funny you should ask. I'm glad to be here for you because yours truly had been fired before. Guess what? It happens. Okay? And people say it's not necessarily your fault. Well, yes, it's not necessarily your fault, but oftentimes it just is. Don't worry about it. It's a learning experience, okay? It is a teachable moment, as President Obama used to say. So let's talk about the things that can get you canned, okay? Always a difficult subject. It brings back all sorts of painful memories as to, who gets fired, and why, and you feel it's such a bad thing. And, it can be. Everything depends on who you work for and so on and so forth and who you are as a person. There are ways to get let go. And your job is to understand what can get you fired. Of course, each organization is different, but there are some steadfast rules as to why people could really lay it into you. Our next episode probably will be about how to deal with a firing because that could get in your way of new employment. It does happen. It happened to me. So I'm going to share my experience with you in a concise manner about getting fired or about being let go. Your goal, like in any organization, is to make sure that you leave on a good note. Even if they want to part company with you, it's okay. Leave on a good note. It's okay to lose a job. It's all right. There's always an opportunity for deep and profound change within you. I think I mentioned this before. Prisons are full of innocent people. No one in prison is guilty. Ask anyone in prison, they'll tell you, I didn't do it. And you know what? In some cases, it's true. Most of the time, guess what? You did it. I wasn't responsible. Well, look at yourselves with a critical but constructive gaze and you will be okay. Don't just say I didn't do it. Look at what happened. Check it out. And then say, what could I do for this not to happen again? Of course, understanding your employer. Last time we talked about what does the employer want. And technically being fired would represent all the things that the employer doesn't want. And if you're one or more of these things, chances are you're going to get canned. Okay? And again, it's all about how you terminate your employment. The most important thing before we discuss all the reasons to get fired is to leave on a good note and not to leave a bad taste in anybody's mouth, including yours, about what just happened. And that leads to something very interesting. It's an interesting condition, which is eligible for rehire. If you get fired, and you are eligible for rehire, then I guess it's not a firing, it's an opportunity. If you are fired and you are ineligible for rehire, that brings you to a whole host of interesting things that we will discuss in the next podcast, how to overcome this. In the meantime, let's talk about what gets people fired. Once again, I compiled a bullet-pointed list of 10 most popular things that lead to termination of employment, and a little music free of charge. Number 1, poor performance. What does that mean? That means it's the failure, your failure to meet job expectations and consistently underperforming. That's what it means. Failing to meet job expectations and or consistently underperforming. Think about that for a second. Now, in order for you to know that you're failing your job expectations, you must also have a clear understanding of what the expectations are. So when you are hired somewhere, make sure you read your job description very carefully, because once your signature gets on that thing, you know what the expectations are. It's like having a speed limit sign along the road sign, that on the side of the road. You know what the expectation is. If it says 35, you best be driving 35 or less. So you understand what the expectation is. The expectation is not to go over 35 miles per hour. That is your expectation. So you blow that constantly and consistently. Guess what? At some point in time, after so many tickets, you will lose your driver's license. Yeah, you get fired. Missing deadlines, producing subpar work, or not achieving set goals, all part and parcel of failing to meet job expectations and consistently underperforming. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Just understand what everything is and make sure that nothing is open to conjecture in the first place. You read your job description. You get feedback. Something happens, or you write it down. You receive counseling and coaching from your supervisors. Put it in your little notebook. And that little notebook is something quite important. Every employee, and I've said this on more than one occasion, you have to have a journal. Your journal is important for your personal growth, but also it acts in case of a wrongful termination. So everybody make sure buy yourself a nice little journal. They sell beautiful employment journals. Okay, it's like a diary. Okay, it's set up by dates and so on and so forth. Today, they have apps for that on your smartphone. If you get completely and totally tired of writing things down on a piece of paper, which I personally like to do, I like the apps also. But something like that, find yourself a nice app where you can get things done. And oftentimes, when you communicate back to your supervisor as to when they gave you a corrective action, make sure you're on the same sheet of music. So that's poor performance. That's number one on the list. Number two on the list, and that depends where you are, of course. Okay, the number two could be number one as well. But this is number two. Dishonesty. There's a few places to be where being dishonest may come to hurt you. Lying on your resume oftentimes tops the list. Even though I must tell you that resume is not a legal document, but it could be used as such. If the company wants to terminate your employment, they will fish out your resume and they will do some in-depth research. If something doesn't fit, that's grounds for termination. When you're providing a resume, please be as truthful as possible, meaning it's okay not to say something. If you didn't say something on your resume, you didn't have to do that. But if you put it on the resume, it has to be as close to factual as possible. Yeah, there are certain things you can take liberties with, but you cannot lie. You cannot lie that you worked, for example, for some large bank, as a manager of a department, and then apply for a management position someplace else. They hire you, and guess what? You've never been one. They'll fire you. Now that's wrong. If you creatively use English language to, talk about your position over at that bank, well, that's open for interpretation. And there is some poetic license that's allowed for the resume, but definitely not fabricating information. That is mucho wrong. A little Spanish free of charge. Engaging in theft or fraudulent activities. Stealing is an interesting thing. There's a reason why, thou shalt not steal is in the top 10 commandments. Yeah, top 10. I believe they call them the 10 commandments. thou shalt not steal. There's a reason for that. Because people are prone to, how should I say, accept ownership of somebody else's property without due compensation or the agreement of people. Yes, there's an old saying in the United States, tall fences make good neighbors. There's a reason for that. And you can't put stuff out there to tempt people, leave $100 somewhere on your table and expect it to sit there. People go through so many stages of self-deceit before they start to steal, and you will find that they have fully justified in their theft. If you ask a person who stole money or stole something from the company, from the department, whatever the case may be, they were fully justified in their minds. People are, technically good, but you never know what the person is going through in their life. People could be in trouble, and they will steal. Don't do that. Don't engage in self-deceit. It's wrong. I know we can justify just about anything. We know. I really need the money so badly right now. My sister needs surgery, and this guy has so much money. He'll never miss out. But I'll give it back. You never do. Once you steal, it's yours, and you've already justified it. Just don't do it. It's one of the hardest things to do in life, folks. Don't be dishonest, and most importantly, don't be dishonest with yourself. You know what's wrong. What's wrong is wrong. Number 3, being absent or late consistently. Consistent absenteeism or lateness, we also call it tardiness, is wrong. That is also theft. I had once a job. I was a director of a department in a hospital, and we had in the hospital some interesting places for people to punch into work. You could punch into work at the entrance to the hospital by the garage where people parked. Right? So I had this employee who was constantly on time, and yet I hadn't seen him start his workday an hour after he had punched in. I started looking where he punched in the electronic records. This guy punched in by the garage. By the time he filtered his way to his apartment, he managed to stop by the Dunkin' Donuts. He stopped by some other place, talked to this one, talked to that one. Then he was an hour late to work. But yet you examine the medical record, you examine the timesheets, and he's never late. And yet he's always late. That's theft. That's dishonest. That's daily, chronic absenteeism and tardiness. Okay? That's wrong. Okay? So regularly showing up late or failing to appear for work without valid reasons is wrong. You can and probably will get fired for that. Unreliable attendance is bad for morale. It destroys the fabric of the department. People look at you and you're still working over there, and you show up late all the time, you miss days, and people say, hey, what am I, a donkey? Why am I here and that guy is not? I'm not going to do that. Don't be that guy. That's definitely grounds for immediate termination. Number 4, violation of company policies. Do you see, if you go back, and I really want you to go back to the previous podcast and see that this is basically an inverted mirror image of the good things that you have, what employers value and what they don't value. And the violation of company policies is right up there. Ignoring or breaking established workplace rules is no bueno. Again, a little Spanish free of charge. Okay? Hey, you need to know what the rules are. And you know what they say? Ignorance of the law is not an excuse. If you don't see a speed limit sign on the street where you have houses, what is it? Less than 15 feet apart, is called a densely settled district. Don't quote me on this. My perfect exam was a long, long time ago, but something like that. Even if there's no stop sign, if you're driving through a densely settled district, your speed limit is not more than 35 miles per hour. But there was no sign. Hey, hello there. No need for a sign. It's the law. And, if you violate these companies' policies, well, I didn't know. Well, guess what? You should have. Here, you remember when you got a job? We got a statement from you saying that you read and understood the policies of this place. Guess what? If you're signing this piece of paper, Guru suggests to you, read the employee handbook. I promise you, it's a great bathroom read. Missing company equipment, violating dress codes, or disregarding safety protocols, definitely a fireable offense. Remember that guy I told you about who used to punch in, on one side of the hospital and then come an hour later to the department where he had to work? Yeah, that guy one day showed up to the operating theater with a cup of coffee. Guess what? No dice. Number 5 on the guru's list of things that'll get you fired is insubordination. What does that mean? You didn't do what your boss asked you to do. Refusing to follow instructions from supervisors or managers is no good. That is insubordination. There needs to be hierarchy. You need to know who your manager is. You need to know, and your manager needs to know who reports to him or her. Displaying confrontational or disrespectful attitude towards authority is also no good. Remember, I told you in the previous episode, your job is to make your boss look great. Yes, by making them look bad, destroys the moral fabric and morale of the department. Just don't do it. It's wrong. It's plain old stupid. And coming to 21st century, next thing on the guru's list is harassment and discrimination. Hey, we'll have none of that. Now, what is harassment? What is discrimination? It's like quality. I'll know it when I see it. Engaging in behavior that creates hostile work environment is one of those things that falls into harassment, discrimination, and making inappropriate comments or actions based on race, gender, religion, and so on. Okay, they have big, massive rules now on workplace harassment and this, that, and the other thing. So please read them carefully. Understand what that means. Yours truly almost got fired once. I mimicked my favorite cartoon character, Speedy Gonzales. You've seen my affinity for Spanish. Every so often I throw in a few words here and there. Well, I learned my Spanish from Speedy Gonzales, just like I learned my French from Pepe Le Pew. If you ever watch those cartoons, please refresh your soul by turning on some old Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, and Woody Woodpecker cartoons. It'll make you feel a lot better. Of course, it'll show you all sorts of harassment and some discrimination, but that's okay. These were the signs of the times. We are living in different times, and make sure you understand the policies. Substance abuse, number 7 on the list. And again, these numbers are magic. They can go up and down depending what the situation is. Coming to work under influence of drugs or alcohol. Even though today marijuana has become legal in most states, that does not mean that it's legal in your workplace. Your workplace requires your attention. Alcohol is a legal substance too. That does not mean that you can drive or show up to work on time. Hey, guess what? It's common sense. Just don't do it. You would definitely violate the workplace policies on drug and alcohol consumption. Read those policies. And in reality, it just says, hey, don't come to work drunk. Hey, we do random urinalysis or urine tests or blood tests for drugs, and these are the drugs that we test for, and these are the thresholds. Okay? Hey, guess what? You got to stick to the rules. Know what the rules are. Misuse of technology, Guru's personal favorite. Spending excessive time on personal social media or unrelated activities during work hours. How exciting is that? Hey, how many people, on whatever social or anti-social media as I call it, spend time on all that. How many posts do you make? Oh my gosh. Remember, in the workplace, your employer owns everything, including your personal stuff. Guess what? It's very easy now. There's algorithms out there that HR, our friends in HR, can certainly see how much time you're spending on that thing. Okay? And if somebody else has access to your account, guess what? It's you. Go ahead and prove to anyone that it wasn't you. Wait, why did you post those images? Be careful out there. And of course, viewing inappropriate content on work computer is a big no-no. Hey, you know what? Keep it for your private time somewhere. As for everything else, your employer owns everything. Next, breach of confidentiality. Ooh, a big one. Big one. In healthcare, HIPAA violations are huge. You can't share this information with anybody. Can't share company information without authorization. Before you do anything, get permission and in writing. By writing, I mean there needs to be an email or text message from your respondent superior. With that in mind, this is how it's going to be. All right? Make sure you have it in writing. Last but not least, negative attitude or toxic behavior. Oh, yes. Again, a mirror image of what employers like. Okay? And constantly complaining, gossiping, or creating conflict is intolerable. It's awful. What an awful work environment this is. It destroys team morale, and it prevents collaboration between people. Friends, just don't do it. Avoid these pitfalls, and you will be safe. You heard it here first. Are there other reasons? Yes, but they're all pretty much offshoots of these 10 salient and easy to comprehend points. Please, friends, do the right thing and keep your job. And if you don't want to keep your job, leave on a positive note so you can either come back or at the very least get a positive reference. And on that note, I bid you adieu, a little French for you, free of charge. Compliments of Pepe Le Pew. And you shall succeed. You will not get fired. You can leave on your own terms, be happy, rehired someplace else, and boom, another podcast in a can. God bless you all. See you all soon. Success and blessings to everyone.
Well, friends and aspiring career gurus, this was fun. Thank you for tuning in. I feel enlightened, I feel empowered, and I'm feeling grateful that we spend time with you. For more information about Boston Career Institute, please visit our website, bostoncareer.org. Boston Career Institute has 3 campuses located in Brookline, Massachusetts, Malden, Massachusetts, and Lowell, Massachusetts. Call our toll-free number, 888-383-6058. For questions, comments, and or information about our podcast, email me at thecareerguru@bostoncareer.org. The Career Guru podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our website, bostoncareer.org, or wherever you stream your podcast. Subscribe, stream, rate, and review our shows. Your rating and reviews help our show reach new audiences. Produced by PodPro Entertainment, The Career Guru lives within a network of podcasts located at podproentertainment.com. # The New Radio. Looking forward to seeing you soon. All the best to you. My name is Steve Yanovsky. I am the Career Guru. May God bless you. # Let's Career Up.